In the Bronx, Brooklyn's broken out in fights. There's a traffic jam in Harlem that's backed up to Jackson Heights. There's a scout who showed a child crucifixion, and I know why.
Cathy Hinners, who are the World Series champions? Come on, you got to do it or I won't talk.
Okay.
I will not do this interview unless you comply.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
And the Royals are World Series... Wait. And the Royals are World Series champions? When did Prince Harry and Prince William start playing baseball?
That's a cop joke, isn't
They're
it?
supposed to be... They're supposed to be like...
You got to say it like it's the greatest thing that ever left you. You can't go, the Royals are World Series.
Well, but that's Joe Biden. I mean,
You got to do Joe Buck, not Joe Biden. The Royals are World Series champions.
The Royals are World Series champions.
No wonder you get under Bobby Hewlett's skin. You just don't cooperate, do you? She served over 20 years as a police officer in the great state of New York. Well, not so great anymore, to be honest with you. And then she came to Tennessee to retire, only get her toughest case. Cathy Hinners can be found online at dailyrollcall.com and on the radio every Monday at 10:05. Good morning, love.
Good morning.
All right, so how'd you get under Hewlett's skin so bad? What happened?
Well, we listened to the work session this past week on the resolution that Dr. Beth Burgos had typically handed out.
Shot down.
Yeah, that was kind of shot down, but was removed at the last moment, so that kind of seemed to create a stir. But then in this rant that he was doing, he stated that people that were on the side of the other folks expressing concern about Islam should pack up and move. And I guess, to give you the exact quote here, it says, for anybody that's on this side, go home, pack up. It's a passion. I'm happy you have a passion about the issue, but go home and pack up and move to where the problem is. Fight it there. Because I'm very sure we could crowdsource moving fees and your moving costs. And he continues to go on about that. First of all, I find it appalling that a school board member would attack and smear a community's concerns as well as other board members' concerns. But the fact that someone that's supposed to be, protecting the children to serve the community is not doing that. He continually says that there is no indoctrination in Williamson County. Well, I don't remember hearing anyone saying that their child has converted to Islam or that, no one is suggesting teachers are knowingly indoctrinating children. But the complaints are rather... By
the way, Cathy, you realize whether it's a criminal or criminal defense or whether it's politics, that's the way they always do it. They create a straw man to kill because they want to avoid the actual...
Well, yeah, and the politician, in his attitude came out, tenfold. But, people are concerned about the sanitized version of Islam and the Prophet Muhammad that are being presented in textbooks, and also the supplemental material with links to Muslim Brotherhood organizations. So for him to openly, suggest that this is, trivial and to actually smear other board members, I mean, he went against his own code of ethics, actually, in a couple of different ways. But, you're there as an elected official of the community. You don't just represent people from Williamson Strong or any other, group like that. You're representing the entire community. And, while he says that he has received zero complaints from people that their children were indoctrinated, that isn't the point. We're not saying that children were indoctrinated. What they don't understand is indoctrination doesn't happen overnight. It's a seed that is planted that could potentially, down the road, turn into radicalization. But this is a denial that they're having. And I think it's very important that they have a resolution that contains perimeters to reduce the potential of indoctrination down the road should be embraced by every parent.
But doesn't it prove to you that they either they're not being very transparent about where their loyalty is coming from? It shows a bias for an issue, because if you're a school board member, and I don't care if you're a Williamson Strong type person or if you're crazy like me and Cathy, you ought to be concerned. All right, wait a minute. Now we're having ice cream socials where kids are doing the profession of Islamic faith. They're making art banners of the 5 pillars of faith, not revealing, of course, the 6th, which is jihad. They're doing prayer mats. I mean, that's going beyond studying and into practicing and or celebrating a religion, something we certainly wouldn't be allowed to do with Christianity or Judaism or any other religion. That's number one. So they ought to be at least very curious to look at the body of evidence. The second is when you bring up real ties, when you follow the money and that money leads you to dangerous groups that are buying their way into their classroom, you would think everyone would be interested. And then if you're getting just a portion of the view or a one-sided sales pitch of the view and not a total view, you think as an educator. Look, I've said this from the very beginning. I not only believe we should teach Islam, and I think it should be and would have to be at a disproportionate amount to Judaism and Christianity. It just needs to be accurate. An accurate historical portrayal of Muhammad's entire life. Don't teach the peace-loving side and not the political overthrow and the enslavement and the rape and the jihad and the slaughter, because that's why we have three types of Muslims today. So I think the problem has been from the very beginning going over a line of education into practicing the religion and an incomplete or inaccurate historical and teaching. And that's what everyone's concern is, none of which he addressed and all of which he just throws out a straw man and a threat. It speaks for itself about him. But I do think that there are some influences that we seem to be unaware of because, you know, no matter who the goofball is, and we've got plenty of them in Williamson County, you know, something's driving them to be this irrational.
Yeah, and it seems to be a group, and I don't think it's a very large group, but I think they have the loudest voice right now, and I think people are afraid, parents that do feel this way, because we've received lots of emails from parents that are concerned about the possible indoctrination. No one is saying it's actually occurring. But I think that, you know, as a school board member, to not hear both sides of a story, to not educate yourself.
That's just failing to do your job.
It is absolutely failing.
No, I get that. Don't worry, I heard that. I just think there's something that stinks to a higher heaven here. Let me ask you this. Do you think it's ignorance? Do you think it's agenda? Or do you think it's intimidation? Or all of the above?
I think it's all the above. I think they don't know because they've never actually looked at the facts. I think they look at the message, and, you know, a typical left is to, you know, criticize and to discredit and to attack that person. I think that's why a lot of parents don't come out, because no one wants their name to be smeared in public. Those of us that are used to it really don't care. So I think that it's ignorance. I think there is an agenda. I think there's, you know, a reason to intimidate people. I think that falls in line with, you know, putting in things that the Islamophiles want to be put into the textbooks. I don't think they actually understand. So I guess it does come back more to ignorance. But there's some arrogance there. You know, people always go back to, well, they taught Christianity. And, you know, I think the thing with everyone is religion out of schools in the 7th grade. They do not have the mindset to be firm in their own faith. If they have any question or, you know, shakiness whatsoever, it's planting the seed. So I think there's a little bit of everything going on. But, you know, look at, as an educator.
But it needs to be accurate. You know, there's somebody we bought the slaves from. You know, you want to demonize every founding father and past president over slavery. Well, we were buying them from Muslims. So slavery is a part of Islam. In fact, it's the only religion on earth that still believes in slavery. You know, that needs to be taught. Rape needs to be taught. Stealing needs to be taught. Political civilization overthrow needs to be taught. Jihad, militant slaughter needs to be taught. You got to teach it all, or you're not teaching anything. I want to share with you where I was headed with that. There's this story today, and it seems completely unrelated, but I'm not so sure. Atheists, okay to disparage Christians, but Islam off limits. And the reason? Fear. An atheist professor said Tuesday that it's acceptable to criticize Christians, but not Muslims, because he doesn't fear retaliation from Christians. Well, I give him credit for being honest. I know what keeps me from criticizing Islam on my blogs. It's fear, said Phil Zuckerman, who is part of religious liberty studies at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. He says, I got 3 kids, so I know I can say anything about Christianity or Mormonism, and I'm not living in fear. Which is a testament, by the way, he says, from an atheist, he's throwing us a bone, to Christianity and Mormonism. And I think that's wonderful. Thank you for not killing me. But then he goes on to say, and to a panel, and among others who all agreed, that you don't see equal treatment for Islam, and the reason is for good reason. Either the drive and movement of political correctness and the consequence, and what they would call radical Islamist, I would just call an Islamist, retaliation. So it's actually intimidation, either by way of political correction or by fear of retaliation that causes this. And I'm wondering, here's a major atheist at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. on a panel of religious liberty studies coming right out. At least he's speaking the truth. Yeah, we bash Christians because we can get away with it. We don't bash Muslims because they might kill us. And it's politically incorrect, and there'll be great consequence for doing so. I wonder if it works the same way at a school board level.
Absolutely, it does. And like you say, at least he comes out and tells you he's scared to death of Muslims, that they're going to do something to him. But that speaks volumes about his character as a man, that he would, bow to such cowardice is saying that he was fearful of these people. And that also spins it that he doesn't believe that it's just a religion, but rather a violent religion. So I think that there's a lot of intimidation and a lot of fear. But, along with that, the treatment is certainly disproportionate. We just saw there was an article about the
Imam of Memphis?
Oh, yeah, we'll get to him, but there was just something real quick about a Muslim bakery that refused to bake a cake for, a gay wedding, I guess it was.
Right, and had that been a Christian, that came up, by the way, in this meeting I'm telling you, in this atheist dialogue. That was the example he chose, by the way. He said, and I'm not alone, because take this bakery. Had that been another Christian from Christian conscience refusing to do that, it'd be a front-page story in the New York Post. But because it's an Islamic, bakery, then they refuse. Not a peep from any of the media. He says, we're not alone. This is natural.
Yeah,
he even used them, small world. He even used that as his example.
So I guess, maybe that's the fear that the parents in Williamson County have. If they don't recognize the threat, if they don't identify the threat, maybe it will save them down the road. But that kind of speaks a little bit about their faith and how solid their faith is. They come off and they criticize people, but yet if they're that fearful of protecting their faith, then I'd say there is a problem. And what's interesting is, like you just mentioned, the imam from Memphis. He's telling us that there are ISIS members in Tennessee. And for those doubters, you can look that up as well. It was a Christian Science Monitor article that he was interviewed for, and he goes on to say that he is actually speaking with, on a regular basis, Muslim men, young Muslim men that live in his area that are coming to see him because they're struggling with the fact whether or not they should go to Syria to join ISIS. So, he's telling you that we have this mindset of these young Muslims here in Tennessee that they have to speak to somebody about whether or not they should go to Syria and fight. So I think that speaks, a lot to what is happening.
We have 2 minutes left. By the way, you can follow these and other stories. I just posted them on my Facebook wall, both the ones we were talking about. But dailyrollcall.com is Cathy's website. It's for those of you that like real facts, real evidence, people that follow trails. It's amazing how cops tell stories. They're very factual. Evidence leaves clues, and they lead you to a destination. So I highly recommend for those of you that really want facts and really want names and really want money trails to always go to dailyrollcall.com, but you'll find these 2 stories there as well. And then I would add the Kamal Salim being at the East Sparta Church of God. That's coming up tomorrow at 6 o'clock. And, I think of Bill Warner, I think of you, I think of Reza Safa, I think of Spencer, I can think of a handful of people. There's no one I would want for parents to spend an evening with in an hour and a half more than Kamal. He's a man who experientially lived it, gets it in Arabic, in English, gets it from the side of Islam, from the side of Christianity, and he knows what they're really trying to pull off in civilization overthrow. I highly recommend, if you are even the least bit concerned. Obviously, your school board members are not. Obviously, your governor is not. Obviously, we're losing. But if you are concerned and you want a real vision and real facts, I highly recommend tomorrow night, East Sparta Church of God, 6 o'clock, and hear from Kamal Salim. Anything you want to add in closing? I mean, I would beg you, as somebody that's one of our experts on a panel, just as I did with Julie West, I think it's unacceptable for a school board member to say, if you don't like it, tough, pack up and move. I think there ought to be a standing up for what's right response to that, whether it's next election or right now. I think these are real concerns of inaccuracy and potential indoctrination, and we need to expose everybody who is silently or behind the scenes bought, paid for, or agendized, or politically correct and intimidated, and keeping it going, because there's just too many parents concerned to have such little response and action.
And I think the parents that have been silent to this point, I ask them to please, send an email or address this in some fashion, and just know that you aren't alone, that you do have a lot of support, and let the names roll. The facts and the truth will come out, and that's what we deal with, facts and truth. And so I think, those parents that are a little intimidated, a little afraid, don't be. You've got lots of support. You've got a lot of people on your side with facts, and ultimately we'll win.
We may talk to Kyle on Friday, but where do we stand with textbooks?
Well, they're going to review them again, but I think a lot of counties have made that decision that they've done a resolution that says we aren't going to promote this, part of the religion anymore. They're looking for amendments to change the way it is taught so that there'll be more specific guidelines to maybe close in on a little bit what the teachers are teaching. So we're still addressing the fact what's on the Tennessee Department of Education's website, some of the issues with the links that go to Muslim Brotherhood sites. But the textbook thing, I think people got a good grasp on it, those that really care about what their kids are learning in school. And I think the resolutions, we're going to see a lot more. One came out of Murray County, which I think is fantastic. It's just something to protect the kids down the road. It isn't like they're going to change to a Muslim tomorrow, which people are insinuating that's happening. It's to protect the kids down the road, so I think we're going to see a lot more of resolutions.
All right, you can follow these and other stories online at dailyrollcall.com. Our top cop is Cathy Hinners, and, of course, you can hear every Monday right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, or sooner, as we say, if
the Royals are World Series champions.
Harder. Royals are World Series. It's like almost a growl. The Royals are World Series champions.
You want me to do it? Really?
Yeah, one more time.
The Royals are World Series champions.
That's my top cop. Talk to you next week, Kathy. I love you, sister.
Bye, Michael.
All right, when we come